guilty of crime.
And we're back. What's up, everybody? I'm Jay, your host of Guilty of Crime, and we're back another day. Nancy Guthrie, search for her body in Mexico intensifies, guys, and I'm going to get into that. That's going to be the first portion of this because I'm really surprised that they're actually out there doing the digging and putting in the work. They haven't done that at all in this case anywhere behind me there. We have not heard a thing. And as a matter of fact, we're going to talk about maps to go along with the search for Nancy Guthrie and the three leads actually that led law enforcement to Nogales, Mexico. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but I'll get there. All right. So they're looking there. It's intensifying, and they found other unmarked graves of at least 20 plus other people in that area, guys. So that being said, let's get into it. This show is also, we're going to talk about the impossible escape route that I've always talked to you about, the map that Annie gave to law enforcement. Guys, the math ain't mathin', the map ain't mapping, and the route that was giving tells a much different story than the ring bell door footage of anybody and where it's been given. So, guys, today we're going to debunk the junk. In this case, we're going to talk about the intensified search for the body of Nancy Guthrie in Mexico and the impossible escape route. Very impossible, very implausible, and I'm going to point out what's wrong with it. Guys, I got a show for you today. I have been waiting to get back to the show. There's so much clickbait, and I really just want justice for this woman and her family, Nancy Guthrie and family. By the way, that All right, guys, I'm back. Are you still here? Is everybody here? Put a 1 in chat if you're here. If you could hear me, I'm back. I don't know what happened. My computer is definitely not, it doesn't run on Wi-Fi. So I have an Ethernet cord and I just restarted the router and it looks like we're back on. I'm just going to wait until I see some ones in chat that you can see me, that I'm back, that we're good to go as I reset this back up for y'all. All right, so let's get into it. I'm trying, let me know, throw some ones in chat. I really want to get to this today. I have been waiting to show you guys what it is that I know, what I'm thinking. All right, we're good. We're back. I'm sorry. I apologize. I don't even know what happened. I do want to thank you, Sadie's mama, for sending the $2 super chat. I don't know what happened. It looks like it almost looked like they kicked me out. Let me play this while I get this set up for y'all, okay? Real quick. Brian Etten went into Mexico, and we're talking about that before I read you the article.
That said that they received an anonymous tip that Nancy Guthrie may have been buried near the Mexico border. They're going back out to search again, according to reports. Law enforcement and sources that I have close to the investigation have said there's no evidence that that is true.
There is.
It doesn't seem like law enforcement is necessarily taking it seriously, but at the same time,
they
never
are.
really know. So I guess it's good that they're searching more. Something I haven't heard a lot of people talk about, though, is the Native American reservation near Nancy's house. It actually borders Mexico. Someone who knows the border very, very well gave me this map that shows different ways that you can get into Mexico, not the normal way through like a checkpoint like in Nogales. And it does seem like there's a possibility, and it should be looked into, that whoever did this, whoever took Nancy, could they have gone through the Indian reservation? One thing I don't think a lot of people have talked about is the Indian reservation. And I was just talking to a retired FBI agent about it. It's massive. It's right there between Tucson and Mexico. When I drove to Mexico, you drive through it and it borders Mexico. Do you think that that should be part of the investigation when it comes to Nancy Guthrie?
Absolutely, it should be. Like you said, it's huge. There's a lot of most of it is just the desert. It's just that desert that we kind of talked about in the past, the vastness, the mountains, the rugged hills and terrain, stuff like that. But yeah, everything west of what we call 3 Points Robles Junction here in Tucson, almost for about 100 miles, is nothing but the Tohono Indian Reservation. And that not only runs in Arizona, but it actually spills into Mexico. So there is an open border on the reservation, that the reservation is in the United States, and portions of the reservation are in Mexico as well. So that area, it is patrolled. Tohono O'odham.
Hey guys, so that volunteer group that said that they received an anonymous tip that Nancy Guthrie may have been buried near the Mexico border.
Y'all, we're getting into all of this. I'm back. We're good to go. That's what I'm trying to show you. Screen went red. All right, guys, we're back. We're back. I don't try to pull any sorcery on y'all. I don't want to ever miss a day. So let's get into it. I will get back on track as we continue. So thank you, Sadie's mama, so much for that and waiting for me. Golden Hen, thank you so much. Back at you, my love. I saw Cool and Chris send some stuff over earlier. Don't know what happened with that, but hey, we're back. Carly, good to see you. Good, really good to see you. I was about to check on you and say, are you alive? All right, now listen, guys, check this out. A lot of people are saying, wait, what? They found Nancy? What's this deal with Mexico? Well, guys, I feel like we're closer than ever to finding out what happened. And the reason I say that are two things, guys. Number one, the search for Nancy Guthrie's body in Mexico intensifies. And as that happens, they found at least 20 other bodies in unmarked graves. Number one. Number two, I just showed you that clip with Brian Etten. I'm going to get into it even further. I've got 3 sources that we're going to talk about the impossible escape route that Annie, as a matter of fact, gave to law enforcement. And I'm going to show you why it's not plausible, why that map doesn't match with Ring, and why it wouldn't work. You guys, Annie, we're going to just say AG for Annie Guthrie. I think her map is about to get shut down today, and I hope everybody sees that. Now, this was lingering for quite some time. So we got 2 things we're talking about today. Actually, 3. We're debunking all the shit rumors that have been coming through this case. I'm going to tell you what's going down. We're going to talk about and show you the Mexico search and the impossible escape route. So be ready. As long as we can keep going. Chris says, choo choo. Have to make up for a few missings. You don't have to do anything, but I love you and I appreciate you for that. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, Montana Mystic says, yeah, sin does rest. There is rest for the wicked. We just have different schedules, you know? All right, glad to see the kid who killed that girl on the cruise. Yes, Justin, I got that lined up for y'all tomorrow. And I'm not going to ruin the surprise because I am going to cover the Anna Kepner case, but I'm going to cover the Anna Kepner case and the arrest, and we'll say lockup of Timothy Hudson on the killer cruise. Guys, you're going to be happy when you see what I have to present to you and the jail conditions, etc., that are happening in his jail where he is. This little Timothy Hudson kid is going to learn real quick. Hashtag don't drop the soap, okay? So be ready for that tomorrow. I've got a lot for this week ready for you. Let's go. Please thank Cool and Chris if you received the membership, as well as so much corruption. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that, and every single dollar helps go back to the channel. So thank you. I do appreciate y'all. All right, check this out. Let's get this through the way. Search for Nancy Guthrie underway after anonymous tip. I'm going to say tips because we're going to get into how many tips, multiple people, and they're finding credibility or they wouldn't be there. Now, a volunteer search began after a tip. Now, there's 3 at this time up to today, claiming her grave is in an area known as Mariposa in Nogales, Sonora, Mexico. All right, volunteers are searching for Nancy Guthrie in Mexico after receiving an anonymous tip or 3 that her remains are close to the border with Arizona. Now, guys, you know, it's been, I think, 135 days, and the Buscando Corazones collective says it regularly receives anonymous tips in missing persons cases, and they've helped to locate the remains of dozens of people in the Nogales region, okay, over a course of time. So Ramona Guadalupe, the leader of the collective, spoke to the 12 News in Spanish, and when it was translated to English, she said she received a tip in early May, guys, this year, May 9th or 10th, 2026, claiming that Nancy Guthrie's remains are buried in a stream in an area known as Mariposa. Now, the stream is near the Mariposa Port of the Entry at Mexico/Arizona border. Now, Ortiz said she did not know who Nancy Guthrie was when she first received the tip. So she looked her up and she said that in Mexico, searchers look for all missing people the same way, regardless of status. Volunteers have not yet. Again, this is just the first day. This is the coming out with the news. This happened updated on the 12th. We're on the 16th. We're getting there. Volunteers have not found any evidence of her grave or whereabouts just yet. This is the very, very beginning. They are aware of the reports regarding anonymous related other tips. There's several, which we're going to get into. They're going to continue following up on any credible information. Now, Ortiz told the news that a caller, who she believes is a man, said that searchers could find a body matching Nancy Guthrie's description, all right, and where, and they only told me to search near streams under a velvet tree. That's all. So we as searchers have learned the technique for finding a clandestine grave, says Ortiz. She also said that the search group has conducted multiple sweeps of 2 creeks in the region alongside Mexican authorities on May 16th, June 10th, and guys, they were going to come back out today. That's why I did this. I did this because I'm like, they're going back out. 3rd search today, right? But today it got postponed. It might be tomorrow now. Focusing on the terrain, disturbed oil, burn marks, etc., etc. You guys know the drill. All right, so that came on, and as I was looking at that, then 30 seconds came in and said, okay, we're supposed to search today, but now the search is being pushed off because people weren't available. So they're going for a 3rd search, and we're going to talk about that, what they found, what they're finding, and what's next. Remember, the article I read you was days ago. Okay, that's where it began. Let's take a look. This came from 4 days ago. Listen what happened, and then we'll get filled up until today.
131 of the search for Nancy Guthrie, and tonight.
So we're at 135 days disappeared, and the lead searchers are doing this. And this is the first time that I've seen anybody actually physically digging up dirt, soil, remains, doing anything of that sort. Now, I see a lot of the YouTubers and the people riding around on a motorcycle and whatever, but I have not seen this. And just wait, Indy, we're going to get to that. You're going to say, what in the F? What? All right.
Tonight, we're learning that a volunteer search crew group in Nogales, Mexico, says they have received a tip surrounding the Nancy Guthrie case. Now, take a look at your screen. This is the Mariposa area near Nogales, Mexico, and that is where an anonymous tipster reportedly told the group a body matching Guthrie's prescription could be found. News 4 Tucson's Jacob Owens joins us live now from that area where multiple searches have turned up nothing so far previously to hearing about this tip. Jacob, what can you tell us tonight?
Just wait.
Sean, I'm just feet away from the Mariposa Port of Entry here on the U.S. side of the U.S.-Mexico border. That group that received this tip, Buscando Corazones, says that this is the first anonymous tip that specifically mentioned Nancy Guthrie. Now we're going to show you some of this Mariposa area here on the U.S. side of the border. As we said, this is right near the U.S.-Mexico border, very close to Nogales. A member of this group says the first anonymous call came on May 10th. An uneventful search followed days later on May 16th, then going to a second call. That came to the group from the same individual, asking them to search in a dry riverbed region. The group says a second search occurred just yesterday, but it also turned up nothing.
But now we're catching up to 4 days later, all right? And Juanita says, Jay, I was watching Ray Marshall, Fugitive Podcast, and he months ago had a source that named this same spot description, in all the same. No one searched the area. I thank you for coming and telling me this, Juanita, because that's what I wanted to tell you guys, that this should have been done a lot sooner, any of this. I think that Nancy, there's a possibility of a few things, but I do think that if they don't find Nancy in this particular area, that she is closer to home than we think. Okay, we're totally going to talk about that, and it's sad, but Cool and Chris, they're out there digging. They're making pay dirt out there. They're doing what we should have been doing, and it's not Pima County doing it, guys. It's not FBI. It's not Pima County. It's this lovely, wonderful group. Okay, it's a lovely, wonderful group that we just talked about. What's up, Retha? Good to see you, Viking Treasure. Let's not search immediately around. No, and we're going to talk about that too, because you know what? What's up, Flo Joe? You came back? All right, look, so they need to be searching around her home, but when you start finding bodies in an area like that, you have a problem. Yes, there's a border. It's about 50. It's easier to say 45. I can enunciate that better. It's about 45 minutes away, and they're finally taking it seriously, guys. People have been talking about her body being in Mexico for quite some time. All right. Finally, they're out there digging.
Volunteers have a third search planned for next week.
Today.
Pima County Sheriff Chris Nano says he nor the FBI have been directly contacted by Mexican authorities.
Do you see that? They're not the ones working on that. It's the Mexican authorities and the group of people, the Mexican group of people that we don't want here, but they're trying to help us for what? Oh, because they're probably just kind people. I'm going to reach out to them. If they only speak Spanish, Synth, I might need your help. Andy says, is this the same group of moms? This is not a group of moms at all. So no, I'm going to say no to that. Let's continue. This is not a group of moms.
Are reaching out, however. As soon as we learn more, we'll be sure to bring you the latest details. Reporting live close to Nogales, Mexico, Jacob Owens, News 4 Tucson.
All right, now let's pop back in because we were going to I was going to show you this. This is what we were talking about today because I was going to show you the actual search going on, but check this out.
We're getting ready for a new search for Nancy
Today,
Guthrie.
for
The mom
today.
of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie has been missing now for more than 5 months. That search is set to begin tomorrow near the border in Nogales, Sonora. The effort comes after an anonymous tip was sent to a search in Mexico claiming Guthrie's remains may be buried in the area. The group says it has already worked with local authorities to search nearby creeks and look for signs of disturbed soil. So far, nothing has been found.
Okay, so they were supposed to go back out there today, and that didn't happen. All right, let me put this up real quick because I'm not ready for the next thing just yet. Let's put these bad boys up there. What did I see Carrie in the house? If I did, what's up, Carrie? Good to see you. It's been a while. It's always nice for you to pop in. What's so crazy they can't get rid of the nanos that he elected? I know. Well, they claim they don't want nanos, but then they vote and they keep nanos in. So you tell me who's playing what side and what. Again, still don't think she's in Mexico. Kimberly says another red herring. Well, this is a big red herring because at least it's bringing people out that are actually physically searching and digging. And guess what, Kimberly? They found 20 plus other identified bodies. And you know what that means? That other families are going to get the justice they deserve when those people are identified. So all in all, it's a win-win situation. All right. Clark, good to see you. Krista, how you doing? All right. It's not all about Nancy Guthrie, and these other people also need the coverage as well, just as much as the next person. All right. Now let's talk about the elephant in the Pima County, the YouTubers that are hanging out and disturbing the Nancy Guthrie neighborhood and home. All right. And this is not me talking trash. This is not me shit talking on YouTubers. It's the news station that I've been using to cover this, talking about YouTubers getting arrested and their First Amendment rights. I'd also like you guys to talk to me about that in chat. Let me know what you think, and then I'll tell you what I think about it. All right, let's continue. I'm glad they're breaking soil, guys. That's what I got to say about that. All right, let's check this out.
And new to tonight, the YouTuber who was arrested twice this week, this time outside of Nancy Guthrie's home, is now responding to the charges against him on his Facebook page. 54-year-old Alexander Zabel Jr. is now facing charges of resisting arrest and public nuisance after his arrest yesterday. Zabel disputes claims about his behavior in the neighborhood and says he was exercising his First Amendment rights, saying in part, quote, "I was not there to threaten anyone. I was not there to cause trouble. I was there to exercise my First Amendment rights and keep public attention on a case that remains unsolved." He goes on to say, "If law enforcement believed I was resisting arrest, the reality is that I was demanding to know why I was being arrested for something I did not believe."
All right, so what do you guys think? I mean, we're going to continue on this. If you put a 2 in chat, it means you support these people out there watching the houses and having conversations for the last 135 days. If you don't, put a 1. If you support the YouTubers that are out on the street and you don't think they're pushing it, put a 2. If you don't support them, put a 1. Okay, you support them. Okay. All right. Some people support them, some people don't. And rightfully so. All right, rightfully so, because if this were me, if this were I that this happened to, I wouldn't want people that also, and I'm not shit talking, guys. There's a certain level of respect that you have for somebody's neighborhood. And if they allow you to be there for certain times, certain things, understandable. But for you to push yourself on them and fight with these older Karen ladies, I think that's your bad because you're in their neighborhood. That's my thing. I think there's a happy medium to everything, guys. And the happy medium is to when the neighbors are working with you and saying, let's find Nancy. But when you're sitting out there and, you know, these guys are felons. Some of these guys are felons, guys. I don't know Alexander Zabel, but I do hear that him, of course, we know JLR has, he's a felon, right? These people are felons. And so if they could be more respectful and more, I mean, aware of the people. I think there should be a happy medium. And that's what's happening. We're not finding Nancy because we're dealing with shit like this. Right? If they would have told me to leave, I would have left the first time. I would have never gone back, and I certainly wouldn't have argued with the neighbors or law enforcement.
I had done. I never swung at anyone. I never injured anyone.
Yes.
Meanwhile, the sheriff's department says it received multiple complaints about Zabel's behavior before his arrest. Zabel has also been charged in a separate case earlier this week with 2 counts of obstruction of a public thoroughfare and 1 count of public nuisance.
Oh man, people are now talking about that. Now that's what's getting covered. All right, those are the things that are getting covered instead of finding Nancy. So that is kind of, I mean, that's another red herring, guys. Have you ever thought about that, ladies, gentlemen, whoever's in chat? Have you ever thought that people that are out there doing this, and I'm not talking about the guy Alex with the tattoos or any of that, but have you ever thought that any of the people that are out there and keep coming back know more or had something to do with the false TMZ letters, maybe in particular? That's what I want to know. Why are they in front of the house? And that's the thing, that the mama says they've been there the entire time and they're filming. Yeah, it's a big distraction. They're filming all day and all night. And the moment they go away, lights come on at the house, and we've got a whole sector in YouTube making all these crazy stories about why lights were on at 4 a.m. Okay? No, they're not aliens, and I don't think she was abducted by a UFO. The lights were not on because there was UFOs and aliens and burglars that came back to go eat from her fridge. So the common sense thing would tell you that someone waited until the morning, early hours to go do what they needed to do at Nancy's so that they didn't get caught with their camera on and bugging them. I mean, come on. Like, I mean, you can consider everything. Nothing's off the table. But what is being put on the table is absolutely ridiculous. Some of the stuff, in my opinion, right? Journalism and reporting, then you should have the same requirements, but you got to earn the requirements and you've got to be respectful. Listen, more. If Brian Anton were out there and they told him, kick rocks, get out of here, don't come back, you wouldn't see him come back. You'd see him here. He'd do a live stream. Maybe he'd pull a stream from somewhere else and he wouldn't go back. That's called respect. All right. It's not called my First Amendment or my Fifth Amendment. People start pulling that bullshit. Come on. Get the hell out of here. That's not finding Nancy Guthrie by sitting outside and watching that house 24 hours a day. What you're doing is you're streaming on YouTube with 4,000 to 12,000 people hanging on your every word and every damn thing that happens. A light goes on. Oh my God, a light goes off. I mean, there's got to be other people that need coverage in other cases, and this just isn't cutting it. All right. I know the TMZ letters, we know some of them were absolutely fake. And yes, Occam's razor. Thank you. All right, I'm going to read this to you guys. Again, I don't believe in aliens or UFOs. Be freaking respectful to the neighbors. All right. Okay. So this is going to bring me into, it's going to bring me into talking about the maps and the ring cameras and all that. Okay. And we're still talking about Mexico. We're not going to stray from that. But it's absolutely ridiculous and ludicrous to start applying certain amendments because they suit you at that time. All right. Because then neighbors could say, well, my amendment is I own up to this piece of property. I mean, it's just, you don't need to do that. It's accomplishing nothing. Guys, I could be sitting out front of Nancy's right now and you wouldn't know it because I'm just sitting here streaming in front of a picture of her house. There's no reason to go down there and cause that nonsense and to take away from Nancy and finding her. All right. And now they took all of the stuff down. All right. They took all of the stuff. It's gone. Where'd it go? All right. Listen, this still has me intrigued. I'm reading a post from True Crime. I'm on X. A speeding vehicle seen on a ring camera about 2.5 miles away and just 8 minutes after Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker disconnected. Now, both Mike Ruiz and Brian Enton drove that route from Nancy's home and got there within 10 minutes. I've always believed this is a Range Rover and say with opinionated certainty it is not a white Kia Soul, right? The thin roof line sure looks to be that unique characteristic of only a Jag/Range Rover, in my opinion. I could also be certain that the model Kia, Santa Fe, or Hyundai Tucson, although it seems a bit too long to be that. Law enforcement can pop this into their system and know exactly what car this is in a matter of hours. So, of course, my guess doesn't even matter. Previous detained in the Nancy Guthrie case. And I love that people are starting to think like that. Let's get back to what's really happening and stop focusing on nonsense. All right. I'm curious how many other Range Rovers were on the MG Motors lot that I'm sorry, I skipped something. Luke Daly. And I do keep going back to Luke because when I see this picture of him, when I see this picture, even any of these pictures that I see Luke in, it irks me. And I have a lot of thoughts and ideas about who, what, when, where, and why he was detained. This one especially in particular, because if you watch Monk's one of his last videos, he talks about using hair dye. Did you hear me? Hair dye? Tell me this guy is not using hair dye right then, right there, right now. His hair is black as black can be. Carrie, you do hair. You tell me. Now, look at the lip. Look at the bottom lip. I'm not doing that today. I'm not covering that. But if you know that last episode and the possible hair dyeing of the beard situation. All right. So that is Luke Daly. That's who they're talking about right there. Let me go back to where I was so you can see. This is the Range Rover guy. Previous detainee, Luke Daly, said he didn't buy his Range Rover until a week after Nancy was kidnapped. I'm curious how many other Range Rovers were on the MG Motors lot, bought it from, that could have been accessed, then returned. Something fishy still with the connections of Zach, right? We got Zach, LD, MG. And I'm assuming the Zach and the LD is like the different people, like Derek Colella, etc. Okay, so let's continue. I'm not saying it's him particularly. I'm just telling you what my thoughts are. Okay, but something about it bugs me to no end. FWIWLD is still one point of interest on my list. What is FWIWLD? What am I missing here? I'm really bad with these abbreviations. You guys can let me know, but you guys know the people that have been detained and let go. We've talked about that. Although he's publicly stated that had nothing to do with the Nancy Guthrie disappearance until FBI clears him. This person says it's sus as fuck. Right? So just take a look at the car we're talking about and the different cameras, because we're talking about that today. We're also talking about the route that the car went on that night. So that's what Fox News and every other person has put out there. We thought it was a Kia. All right. So let me go back home, make sure I didn't miss anything. I'm trying to make sure I get all the junk out of the way. All right, we got to find Elena Moore. Let me share that real quick and then get back to mine. All right. So again, this one, I mean, they reposted this. We've watched the crap out of this. Many people say Tommaso straight up part of this. And I'm not saying he's the door. He's not the guy at the door, the ring door guy, the porch guy. That's not what I'm saying. But look at his hustle. Look at how confident he is. Look at how different he is. Okay. I can't put music on, but they're putting that because he's got his swag. They're cleaning out the house, doing their thing. Right? Again, I still think there's connections to that family. Now, this one, I don't even understand. Maybe I missed something on this one. This is Shanna X out there, and they're saying that It's a missed opportunity because these YouTubers can't be out there, right? Alex and the Griffin interviewed each other, compared perspectives, and even snapped each other's photos and made it about Nancy Guthrie. That would have been journalism. Instead, we got a hit piece and a guy lurking behind the bushes. All right. So, I mean, you guys see what's happening here. You can call those red herrings as well. Again, dispatch on the night is very sus. All right. So 11 hours ago, criminals are mining social media for signs of wealth to find their next victims. You guys probably heard this already, right? You guys heard about the wrench attack. They're saying, law enforcement is saying that they're suspecting her abduction, Nancy Guthrie's, fits the wrench attack pattern, where hired muscle kidnaps someone to force crypto ransom. I want to know what you guys think about that. All right. Cybersecurity firm Certic logged 34 wrench attacks in early 2026, 41% spike over the last year, and flagged the Guthrie case as a proxy target selection. With an early $6 million cryptocurrency demand in more than half of the documented cases, the real target wasn't the person taken. So, law enforcement has not publicly confirmed the wrench attack theory, but the Pima County Sheriff says he's flagged Certic report to investigators on the other case. Okay? So, I mean, there's a lot going in here, right? I mean, breaking news from JLR. Woman claims she sent certified mail to Annie and Tommaso offering help to find Nancy, but the mail came back to her and was never claimed. Where is Nancy Guthrie? All right. And you can see the whole world's talking about this case. Now let's get into the map portion of it. Right. I got a show for you today, and it's not a typical one. We're going to jump from thing to thing, still keeping under the topic of maps. Now, guys, I found this lovely lady. Her name is Juanita Adame. I'm not sure how to pronounce her last name. So it is in my description. Okay, I was introduced to her through another channel streaming her stuff. And she's a small channel. She's got less than 6,000, I think, subs. Juanita Adame. I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but she's been doing fantastic work with this case and her theories and the routes and the mapping. Now, this particular one, we're only going to watch some of them, like maybe 9 minutes into it. This is calling out Annie's map and the route that resurfaced, but ring footage tells a different story. Then right after I get out of that, guys, I'm going to double down on that theory about the map and show you that map is impossible. It's the impossible map that never would have been used, in my opinion. Are y'all ready for this? Who's ready? Ready? All right. Make sure I didn't miss anything. You guys, do me a favor. Hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't. Get a membership if you can. Thank you so much, Rose, for the $2. Thank you for what you do. All right. And I thanked everybody else thus far. You guys want to keep that coming. Likes, hypes, subscribes, and shares all help. Okay. It is very bizarre. Let's dig into this a bit. Again, we're not doing this whole one because there's a lot of suppositions. I just want to cut to the chase on this map and the fact that the map does not match the ring cameras by any means. Why would someone do that? Well, to throw them off of where they really need to be.
Comes right back up, and there you can see Riverside Terrace all the way up, and then curves around, and then it ends. So
Nancy's home.
This is actually a better detailed map than the one from Annie. So this is
because hers cuts off. We can't even find the whole damn map. Let's continue.
Annie's map, right? Or this is the map that's floating around that people are saying Annie provided this map to the neighbors group. And you can see starting from the left, 5505 North First Avenue. It goes up by Shadow Hills, across, comes down 5830 North Genematis Drive, all the way down Circa 79 Salon, all the way back up Green Toes North Nail Salon and Massage. And then we're going to go all the way down Roller Coaster Road. So then it goes across, and there's that Lulu Walker Elementary School.
And guys, I've been saying this from day one, as well as the locals. The locals that have come into chat have told me, Jay, nobody would use that route. It's scary, it's dark, and especially if you don't know the area. Well, there you go. Somebody knows the area. I didn't even know you had. You do have Mystic Artistry North. That's it. A small channel of 19. You know what I'm saying. I'm a small channel. I have 34,300 and something subscribers, and that's a small channel. Can you tell me the names of who was at the house before the police? They didn't document who was at the house before the police. We know Annie and Tommaso were there, and they never named anything. Nothing has been found yet. And I did not say anything has been found yet, but the search is intensifying. It was supposed to happen today. That somebody important wasn't available, and they're going to continue.
Nancy Grace was talking about on her show. So then we're going to go all the way back, and then it just kind of ends there. So I'm not sure why this map is not the entire map from starting from Nancy's house to I guess the end point. I'm not sure why this map is condensed like this. Maybe they were trying to. I'm not going to speculate. So anyway, I looked at the two maps, and then I was like, okay, let me create one, and I created one.
Okay, so we're gonna
show you
from here to there. We have a few minutes to show you and talk about. Doesn't make sense. It doesn't match. It doesn't work. Now, mind you, Annie Guthrie grew up in that house. She knows that area, and so do many others. It's not a big place that live there. Everybody has questioned that map and what's going on. Why? Okay, so this part right here, what we're talking about is the map that Annie created just simply doesn't work, and it doesn't match up with the Ring doorbell footage of the vehicles. Then after this segment, we're going to go to the next map and show you how it's impossible.
The map that I created. This is the map that I created. And as you can see, I'm going to put a side-by-side between this map and then the Facebook users map and then Annie Guthrie's map. And you will see that they're somewhat similar. I tried to go into as much detail as I could about the map, but that was as close. I mean, it looks like the same pattern, so I'm fairly certain that it was the same. I was going to do a Google Earth, when you...
Yeah, but it doesn't...
Do you guys remember?
It doesn't work as well.
The story broke about the surveillance video. The surveillance video caught from the Stratagulius's Ring camera. Do you remember the Ring camera that they set up facing the road, and they caught this car? So this was a USA Today article from February 27th. This is an excerpt. This is a part of that article. It says the surveillance video obtained by Fox News Digital shows 12 cars passing through the neighborhood between the hours of midnight and 6 a.m. on February 1st. One of the vehicles was recorded approximately 8 minutes after Nancy Guthrie's pacemaker last synced with her phone, the outlet noted. So do you guys remember? I'm sure we all remember that. Remember the video of the car, and everybody's trying to make the video slow down so we can look at the car. And then they were saying it was a Kia Soul. Okay, so where was I? Anyway, the surveillance video, if you guys remember, that was the surveillance video from this car.
Okay, so that's what we're making to it. You guys all remember now, Ring footage. I just brought you right from the picture of the Range Rover / Kia with the cactuses right to this. So I hope you guys do. I think you guys do see what I do with my show, and I try to day by day as I go, week by week, month by month. I try to solidify my presentation even further by making sure that I bring everything that makes sense in with facts and in the way it's supposed to be. So guys, thank you guys for being here. Thank you guys for supporting the channel. We've been here for, I think it's been about almost 2.5 years now. I started in 2 years on February, so March, April, May, June. We're about 2 years and 4 months. Thank you guys for growing with me and helping me grow my channel. All right, let's continue. I hope you like the way I present things, because what I do is presentation, right? You see, member for 23 months. That's almost the longest that you could be a member.
That was driving on the street, The video was obtained by a reporter from Fox News Digital, Michael Ruiz, who said, I know there was this 2-mile radius, but I think we're going to go outside of that and talk to neighbors. And then they found that video. So it was really interesting because remember people were like slowing it down and okay, it was a Kia Soul. And so all that was happening around that time. So I was like, wait a minute. I'm curious if.
Yeah, come on, tell us.
I wonder if Annie Guthrie's map and the
Annie Guthrie's
video
map
of the surveillance footage of the car. So I wanted to see if their neighborhood was along the Annie Guthrie map route.
I love it. I love that she's doing this because it's solidifying it in my mind. I've done this with you. We took that map when I first set my eyes on that thing, and other people had already seen it. But when I saw that map, first of all, it was not the way, it wasn't laid out even in the proper way. But when you crop it, the way you crop it, you can't really tell. You're like, okay. But when you take the crop out and you look at the Google map, it just simply doesn't make sense. And that's what we're talking about right now. Wait a minute. Perps were mapping. Girl, where have you been? Where have you been? Back to my blanket. All right, you do that. Flying saucer. Okay, let's go. Map. Annie's map.
I wanted to see, because if it was, then you're like, okay, that makes sense. Like that car is driving along the route that Annie Guthrie suggested, right? So I found the address for the Strataguliuses. I'm not going to say the address out of the privacy for them, of course, but I kind of pinpointed their house. I think that's kind of already been pinpointed though.
Let's go a little bit forward.
And so I was like, I wonder if this house is on the same route as this map. And guess what? It's not.
How do we lose
This
you,
is the
Deborah?
route that Annie Guthrie provided to neighbors. Hey, you guys, look at this. This green dot over here, that's where the Stratagulius' house is. I know people are saying she was trying to help. Maybe she's trying to help investigators. I don't know. What do you guys think? This is the route that Annie believes the kidnappers took. So they were urged.
There shouldn't be anybody lost. If you're confused, I did something wrong. Today, we're talking about the search for Nancy Guthrie's body in Mexico as it intensifies. It has been held off. It was supposed to be day 3 today, and they needed to push it out. Also, what about the impossible escape route? That's what we're talking about. That is the escape route, literally, that Annie drew for law enforcement to tell them where Nancy may have been taken and abducted and the route that the kidnappers took. All right, we're talking about flying saucers. It's just me being stupid. I was talking about flying saucers and aliens because at this point, that's the kind of nonsense that I feel is coming into this case. Oh my goodness, there were lights on at 4 a.m. How dare they? Guys, come on. Welcome, Hope A Fear, back to the crime crew. Guys, listen. Lights were on the house, in Guthrie's house and the guest house at 4 a.m. on June 15th. All right. Lauren Serpa said, Nancy Guthrie update. I drove by at 4 a.m. to buy Nancy's to leave the letter for the person that I showed you earlier who took down the memorial. And lo and behold, the lights were on in the main in the guest house. Didn't want to stop. Took a picture of the no parking and the QR code. This is in Pima County. Also wondering, are they wanting the media gone so they can start doing what they need to do to the house, process it, sell it, pack it, whatever? There are lights that went on at 4 a.m., guys. Not flying saucers, not unicorns, none of that.
People in these areas too. Look at your surveillance. But the car that actually
exactly like it lights, guys,
was
come on,
leaving the area is over here where the screen mark is.
So you see how far that is from there? It doesn't even match.
I don't understand. What do you guys think? What do you think? Give me your thoughts on that, because people said, oh, maybe it was a diversionary tactic. Maybe it was this, maybe it was that. I don't know.
Wait, who's coming in and telling who to chill? Have you ever lost a loved one? Chill. You're coming. Are you telling me on my channel to chill? Of course, I've lost a loved one. What are you talking about? All right. We don't know who they is that would be selling it, Mara. So I have no idea what they're doing with the house, but they do have to do something with the house on ultimately, right? I know it's an incomplete map, and that's the problem. It doesn't even reach to where it's supposed to. We're not even done with this segment yet, right? And yes, I think all of us has lost loved ones.
And here I made this, and so as you can see, this is Annie Guthrie's, the route she suggested people look at. And over here is where a car was spotted on camera. It's nowhere in the vicinity of the map that was recommended. The route, I should say, that was recommended by Annie Guthrie. It's way over here. Not even close.
Not even close, guys. And let's go back to the title real quick. I love it. I love it when people they don't like my title. Nancy Guthrie, search for her body in Mexico intensifies. Now, what about the impossible escape route? What is there confusion with that? Does anyone not speak English? One map was super difficult, and the other one was most likely. All right, let's continue because we're not even done with this yet.
Why would that be? Why do you think that would be? I'm going to leave you guys with that information. This is my third or fourth podcast, so my brain's a little scattered. I'm trying to continue to find easier ways to tell what's in my mind, and I'm curious why we would how Chris McDonough says an anomaly.
Yes.
Why would we suggest this route? Maybe it's just this.
Again, we've been asking that since day one. We didn't suggest the route. Annie suggested this route to law enforcement, and for her to look at this route and check everybody's cameras, houses, streets, anywhere that there's a camera along this. That's why she wrote that. That's why she put that map. It doesn't even go all the way down to where it's supposed to, and people have questioned why that map. Chris McDonough said an anomaly, the fact that it doesn't even match up, or was it purposefully? I've always believed it's purposefully.
Maybe we suggested the route because maybe Annie Guthrie suggested the route because she was genuinely trying to help. Maybe she's genuinely trying to help.
There you go.
I just find it strange that the route she suggested is different from where that car was spotted. Remember the car from Fox News?
Yeah,
Digital?
they did.
So I will leave you guys with that. I kind of rambled all over the place, and this is something that I find completely intriguing, fascinating, and I hope that I get some good feedback on this.
All right, you guys definitely go sub up to this lady, Juanita Adame. She's just going to get better and better. I don't know why it's not letting me click on that, and that's okay. That's okay, because I am going to. So we saw the search there. I don't know if you guys have seen any of the actual searches from Mexico. Let's play a few minutes of this, and then I'm going right into Annie's escape route. That makes no sense, right? So let's get back real quick about Nancy and her body on the reservation. And is it there? Did they find it? What are they finding? All right, we'll talk about that for a few minutes. I won't even get into it with Brian Anton just yet. Let's do this. Hold on, because I want to go back to that for a little bit. Hold on. And this came out yesterday. Did they find Nancy's body in Mexico? What a bad man. That's clickbait. Get it out of here. Oh, I love you guys. Thank you, mods, for helping out today. This case always kind of gets like that. Let's listen for a little bit why people are even asking the question, did they find Nancy Guthrie's body in Mexico? All right. And furthermore, an anonymous caller, guys, tip this in. Now, today's June 16th. This is dated June 16th. An anonymous caller directed a volunteer group, which I told you earlier. What do they call them? Buscando Corazones, officially Collectivo Buscando Corazones, which is like, I guess it's heart. It's a looking for hearts. Buscando Corazones is looking for hearts. That is a Mexican grassroots volunteer search group and nonprofit organization composed of family members seeking missing loved ones. Now, they're based in Nogales, Sonora. The collective maps, investigates, and excavates suspected mass graves. And that's what they're doing right now. And they also discovered if you look here, they found nothing yet connected to Nancy, but the Mariposa quarter west of Nogales already held at least 32 sets of remains in more than 25 unmarked graves. All right.
During broader searches from April to May, allegedly they found more than 25 unmarked graves containing the remains of at least 32 people in the same area.
That's
The
crazy.
Sheriff's Department says it learned about the search from media reports. Mexican authorities haven't contacted them, according to authorities in the U.S. 4 months in, the search for Nancy crossed an international border, and the people running her case apparently found out from the news. The phrase I keep hearing a lot of is we haven't been contacted by Mexican authorities. Mexican authorities have not confirmed this or that. Considering the track record of Mexican authorities in the country in general.
And I gotta wonder, are they doing this? Is the group doing this in the name of justice for Nancy, or whatever? Or is it they want that $1.25 million? Or is it really her body that they're going to find? That's a crazy amount of bodies that were found in that area, guys. Okay. Someone is searching, and there are other people searching, and this is not even headed by Pima County or FBI. This is all that grassroots company. All right.
How much are we putting too much weight on what Mexican authorities are going to be contacting anybody on in terms of law enforcement or
criminal organization and enterprise in and amongst themselves? Now, that's not to say that in cases that don't involve the cartel, or cases where they can be of assistance, that they won't be. In this case, I don't know, but you have to go check those graves. You have to check every lead. I think it's a bit of a shot in the dark, but it's possible she could have been.
Now, you got to remember, at the beginning of this case, you guys and the whole world was like, Nancy's in Mexico. Everybody said that. Almost every single person was like, she probably's in Mexico by now. So I'm not going to say everybody. All right. I believe some of that group came and searched around Nancy's house, and rightfully so, because they don't understand why they haven't been doing that. All right, Nancy's wall decor is off. You guys are funny. All right, let's continue. You're very welcome. Thank you, Hope 8 Fear. Jody, you're very welcome. I appreciate the people that appreciate. There's 222 people right this very second. Say a prayer that Nancy Guthrie's body is recovered, because at this point, it needs to be recovered. And you guys know how much I've put into this case effort, researching, finding things out, thinking about things. Guys, I want her to be found so badly. If there's a ray of hope that they're going to find her with those other bodies, then let there be. Okay.
And delivered there. I think a lot of us have talked about that's a 50-50 proposition. It's most likely that she's in and around the Tucson area, everyone. Most likely. They're not going to take her that far, but it's a possibility.
Yeah, Jen. So tell me your thoughts on this, because this is what I posed on our show on Friday when Tony shared that, hey, they found like 27 graves and 32 bodies. Was, from my perspective, if you just reverse it, if you're looking for some attention that a family members have lost family members, like your son's gone, your daughter's gone, they went missing, the cartel's involved, and the federales aren't going to do anything. What better way to get attention to trying to find your loved ones or bring attention to this than say Nancy Guthrie's buried here? So my conjecture on this one is that there's possibly this is some poor loved one trying to use the Nancy Guthrie case to help bring attention to the fact you have a dumping ground.
That's interesting, guys. That's an interesting that's another thing. I could sit here for the next hour and ask why. Why do you see that a couple or people, I don't even have names, that sent allegedly a certified letter to Annie and Tommaso saying that they want to help? Certified mail got returned to them. In other words, no thank you. Why wouldn't you search? Why wouldn't you want people searching? You tell me. I'll ask as many questions as I can. Jody, thank you. I appreciate you. I hope you guys do understand that I'm just a passionate person about everything. If the ice cream truck comes right now, I'm running out there to get my ice cream and eat that as passionately as I do with the things that I present on true crime. I don't want you guys, especially the new people. This is not drama. This is just who I am. And I'm very passionate, and I want Nancy Guthrie and all the others, right, to be brought home. What's up, Inquisitive P? Twin mommies here, been here 25 months. I know, girl. I know. How much guilty of crime swag do you have? All right, let's continue. Push pop. We're not watching this whole thing. I just want to talk a little bit further about the probability and why they're in Mexico digging. And why is this even called? Why is this episode even called Did They Find Her Body?
Of bodies that cartels have here. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. I think it could be possible with why the anonymous person came forward. But at the end of the day, what are they exactly going to do? Are they going to do, IgG on all of these people? Are they going to who's going to pay the money to even do DNA analysis at the lowest level? Who's going to do that?
Well, and to that point, and you said it so great, you have to follow every single lead you get.
Yes.
My thought process is they know that the FBI, because shows like us say it, we have people like us on, it's like you follow every single lead down. And so if they're looking for some positive ID of a family member, if you think some law enforcement from the US is going to come in and try to do DNA evidence to try to identify, because so you do your empathetic, thought process here. If you're a family member and you're trying to draw attention to this, you have a much better than a zero probability. You at least have a probability that if you can get in the public eye in the United States and even get Savannah's family involved to fund any sense of attempt to try to find family members that are maybe in this pit or however they're placed there, you have a higher probability and chance of that happening than if you did nothing at all.
Right.
Well, I think at least they could discern women versus children versus obviously there's some things that you could easily discern. But boy, that further testing.
Or even just articles. So if you think, so you have articles.
Yeah, they're not going to sit there and be able to test these 25 people in unmarked graves, right? But you guys, since day one, we've been talking about how close the border is to Mexico. So that being said, my thought the entire time was, if she's in Mexico, she's already dead. I believe that she has been passed since the very beginning. I don't think she was alive when day 2 or day 3 they asked for proof of life and they wanted their Bitcoin. I think that if they had proof of life, my friends, they would have already sent it and got their money. She unfortunately, I believe Nancy Guthrie was dead by that time. All right. Seems like it's something actually knew where Nancy is. They'd be asking about the reward. And that's what I think they have done that, Deb. That's the interesting thing about this is that what triggered this is an anonymous tip. And it came from a Mexican volunteer group in Mexico. All right. Buscando Corazones, Nogales. They're the ones that received the call allegedly. And they went to go find if they can see Nancy Guthrie's remains. All right. Near Mariposa, near bed streams, they say. So they searched May 16th, guys. And then on June 10th, a third search is planned for today. But it was postponed because Mexican authorities weren't available to accompany them. Okay. Thus far, they have not reported on any evidence or remains or clothing, anything that would be traced to Nancy. But yes, there are other bodies there. No, there's no other evidence that Nancy ever entered into Mexico. Had she did that, she probably was already dead in the trunk or in the back. All right. Now, U.S. law enforcement hasn't confirmed the lead neither is Pima County, but we know how bad they are about that. Bottom line, no confirmed evidence yet, and a third search is approaching quickly. All right, let's continue. That way we can get to that impossible map as well. We're going to talk about this a little more, and then you guys know my thoughts. I think if she is in Mexico, that's where they're going to find her, in a grave. That's why I never even entertained the thought of her being in Mexico, as in being alive. But the moment you talk about her being there in her body, I could absolutely see that. It would be a lot easier to take her body and dump it anywhere over there. And then you're also not in the United States, right? So it's going to be a lot harder to find and be taken seriously.
Because of clothing, you have I mean, who knows, right? But you don't know until you as a family member, you give it a shot. I mean, if you so I mean, just think about what you would do as, you know, what each of us would do as a parent. It's like, if you knew there might be something to this, man, you're gonna do all you can.
I want to, throw this out there because, it's a point you made right away, Jen, that if Nancy is gone, she's likely buried in or around the Tucson area.
Yeah, I think so too.
And the reasoning for that is really quite simple. The longer you're traveling somewhere with a body, the more chances you have of somebody finding you traveling somewhere with a body. So you're best off to dispose of it at a relatively local area, so you don't have to be traveling with that body.
Unless you're already going to travel there and she already passed away, then it's just much easier to get rid of a body in an area where there are other bodies. What's up, Saluthy, sweetheart? Good to see you, my friend. Think Donna was talking about coffin duffer. All right, let's continue. All right, so, these are the discussions being had. Her body has not been found. Nobody's given us tangible evidence that anything has been found. And I love that someone just said earlier about, you just triggered my mind going about what actually happened here. All right, we're gonna do this right now. Let's get right into this, and then if I have time, I'll address the actual theory, because this case, I hope by now you guys understand that this case is not. Sorry about that. Let me put this up for a second. 1 second. I got sidetracked, but because I was looking for that video and reading comments, that it definitely takes it takes some paying attention to. I'll give you that. All right, let's get into that. Let's drop this down. There's another theory, and an insider has a little bit of information, allegedly, that I listened to earlier. New evidence from the night she vanished, and the actual theory, because I don't think this was a kidnapping gone wrong at all. And when you listen to this, not what we're doing yet, but at the end of the episode, you'll understand what I'm saying about why it couldn't have been that, or it wouldn't have been that, and it probably wasn't that. It wasn't a kidnapping gone wrong at all. Now, why Annie Guthrie's escape route makes no sense, guys. All right? With your favorite boy, Monk. And this isn't even his latest episode. You guys go watch his other stuff, his new stuff. This was from a few days ago, and then he's got a new one. And in his new video, he shows a guy dyeing hair, and he talks about, what if it was somebody that dyed their mustache hair and then the lips, and it matched this guy so well. It looked so much like freaking Luke. And then I remembered. I remembered seeing Luke on the interview, all clean shaved. We didn't get any of that kind of stuff. He had a different look about him. All right. So again, I'm not saying that it's porch guy, but I'm just saying I'm opening up my mind to what's happening. All right. I'm not working. I get a live stream. You all work. I will support Jay as much as, well, thank you. I appreciate you. I appreciate that you guys know that it takes a lot to put an episode together. Angel of Truth, good to see you. All right, let's remove that. Remember that face, and let's get back to the impossible escape route.
$1 million on a private investigator might be bogus, as clarified by our...
It actually is bogus. I told you guys that a day ago, but I wasn't on this episode. Savannah Guthrie did not spend $500,000 on a private investigator at all.
Trusted Brian Enton, right? And he did this after big channels started reporting on it. And one of those big channels was sadly Nancy Grace, the one I watched because she finally made her A month-long hiatus from the Nancy Guthrie case, done for, and she made a video, but I think she had 2 crucial errors in there. Now, I wouldn't blame Nancy Grace altogether because, you know, she has a team that works for her, and the
See, I do. See, you gotta appreciate creators like that. All right, you gotta appreciate this guy Monk. He could have came from bashing Nancy to just like, hey, people work with her on this. She films, mistakes made. So I did hear people raging about Nancy's coverage of this case, and I was like, hey, that's kind of not fair. We all make mistakes here, and nobody's an exception to it. So awesome. Phoebe says, to me, Zach is porch guy. His lips, and he stayed himself by calling a few YouTubers. Yeah, and also there's another person that really is going to trial, Derek Kalella. What information is going to come out in that trial?
information that was being presented wasn't actually being presented by her, though I'm pretty sure Nancy Grace is not very happy that this bit of fake news was
funny.
reported as truth by one of her guesses. I said guesses.
Guesses.
You guys have been on me about that.
And this is why I like him. He's talking about guests, but he said guesses. We all get tongue-tied. Monk's the man.
We must all do the right thing as well here on our little channel to get that straight. Savannah Guthrie has not spent $500,000 on a private investigator. Now, because that has been going around, this also reminds us again that the family's search for their mother has been making plea videos and a front yard cameo. Now, besides Savannah herself,
Yeah, this just doesn't jive, man. None of this feels right. None of it looks right. It's overly acted. And by the way, if they can't find where Nancy Guthrie's memorial went, how are they going to find Nancy? They literally put up a sign saying they want their stuff back. Like, what is law enforcement doing? Right? Maybe they should leave the YouTubers out there and they'd guard them a little bit better.
not any one of the other family members has ever thanked the public, right? That has been looking for their mother, that has been so invested in finding her. Everything has been a bit lackluster in comparison to anyone else that has lost a loved one.
She didn't just get up and leave. I also want to thank the media for never giving up on the family. On Maya's case. You guys put her face on all the televisions, newscasts, social media. You guys never gave up on us. And you guys didn't let this case become a cold case.
Wait, what happened? What happened there? Why did he pull that up as an example? They didn't find her body, did they? That just threw me off. You guys, I've been covering, or I'm not covering, I've been asked to cover the Maya Miliete case, and he pulled this in. Did I miss something? And by the way, Angel of Truth, thank you for becoming a member of the crime crew. Did they find her body? I know it's another case. I just like, wait, what happened? All right, let's continue. I want to see what that means. I just looked away for a second.
Everybody.
It's not to say that they don't have things moving in the background, but as far as we know,
okay, they haven't found her body.
Not much effort or even money has left the coffers of the Guthrie family. And there's also this renewed talk about Annie's map, okay? Unfortunately, that was also highlighted by Nancy Grace. So in my opinion, this video that has just come out by her is a real face palming kind of video, because there's a reason why I never talked about this map. It wasn't what Nancy Grace highlighted, which in her own words,
here we learn that Annie Guthrie herself provided the route she believes the killer used that night.
Now, I've known about this map since JLR posted about it.
Yeah, I was like a month late to the game on this map, and it's never made sense. I turned it this way, I turned it this way, I turned it this way. We did it together. We had a whole discussion about this map and why the hell would Annie Guthrie give that to law enforcement about a potential kidnapping going that way. All right. So let's continue. Thank you so much, Kimberly Cunningham, for the Guilty of Crime membership. If you receive that membership, please thank her. Awesome. 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 All right. Let's continue.
Since early on, I'm not sure when he posted it, but it was early. So before I tell you why Nancy Grace's show may have gotten that information wrong as well, again, I feel a need to say that when you're given such information, there's a lot of data in this information, just in this picture of this map. Just do a little mapping. If they did just this much, I would say they would find that it actually doesn't make much sense. That
I know. What did they do with that and what happened? It didn't make sense to me, but I thought, well, I am terrible, guys. I am terrible with a sense of direction when it comes to going somewhere. I know north and I know south of where I am. Otherwise, punch it into the GPS. I suck. I'm glad MapQuest doesn't exist where you have to print out the pages and staple them, because I wouldn't even be able to find the way out of my front door. That's how bad it is. So I thought, well, maybe it's me. I just can't maybe read the map or something. No, it's the map. Thank you, Tracy, for the Guilty of Crime membership. If you receive that membership, please thank her. Thank you. All right, let's continue.
this is a route that Annie thinks the kidnapper had taken her mother. And wait till you hear why. Because I've done some extensive mapping in previous videos, and I know the exact route I'm looking at. So at this point, I guess just follow along as we go through this map. So the first thing I'd like everyone to notice is that this map is incomplete. Okay, I've tried to find the complete version. I have not. Maybe there is one out there, but I've always seen this incomplete version. The remainder of this map going to the right is going to lead to Nancy's house. Now, I'm hoping that someone in the comments section that actually knows, okay, can tell us why 5830 Jetamatas here is pinned, right? Who's supposed to live there? Now, if I had to guess, I would assume that that is the house that Nancy was supposed to go to that morning to meet her church friends. So as we continue to follow.
Guys, if that's the case, that gives us a lot more context to the case, right? We've talked about this time and time again. Where was the friend's house? How do you know anything about who the friends were? Guys, we can find that out very easily by looking up that pin drop. And I love maps when other people interpret them for me. But me interpreting a map, one of the ones called New Details. One of the ones called New Details. What's up, K-Bear? Yeah, I like when people interpret them, but me, I'm like spinning it around and around. I don't get it. All right, let's continue. That's interesting. I'm going to make a note of that. 5830 North. All right, let's continue.
The map. This here is the road that especially jumps out to me. Okay, Roller Coaster Road. I remember it because of the stupid joke I made about how this road is a great representation of the Nancy Guthrie case. However, I was pointing out this road for a completely different reason. So in the video that I called Phantoms, given that we have not seen any footage of Annie and Tommaso's car taking Nancy home that night,
nope,
that they were essentially in a phantom car. You know, seeing this path actually gave me a bit of a chill, you know, to see it brought up again. Now,
you know, if you guys are true crime junkies, and I know you are, or most of you here are like I am, you're always scouring the web and the television to find new intriguing cases, right? I'll just call you B Girl 99. Why would Annie just assume a route a killer took Nancy? Because law enforcement does that purposely to find out what the people that may be a person of interest are thinking themselves. And when you look at that map, and when you're a local person and you see those the winds and the turns and the darkness and the people that say nobody would go down that road, it's crazy, it's scary, it's all right. So that's why I believe she routed that. And they probably went around. They said, okay, well, is this what she's giving us? Let's look around that instead. All right. When you're in the military, you give a compass and a map. You got to find your way out of the woods. Well, I certainly will not be in the military ever. Yeah, no sense of direction, Mom, at all. I can't read a map to save my life.
Now, I'm going to say this. If common sense doesn't fail me now, Annie Guthrie is never going to say that this route is what the kidnappers took after abducting her mother. And here is why. Because when I saw Roller Coaster Road off Oracle, this was the shy route I called in that video. The one you would take when you'd rather not be seen on camera at all, going back and forth to Nancy's house. So, following the same route outlined in Annie's map, down Janamadas, up Oracle, into Roller Coaster Road. If we just made a right, we end up at Annie and Tommaso's house. So I think you guys can see why I would find it very hard to believe that Annie was saying that the culprit was possibly taking Nancy away, but right into their neighborhood. Now, I also didn't hear why these...
And I'm telling you, this happened. If this comes back at some point that either they were the orchestrators of this or had something, I say they, A&T, this map is going to be like, you're going to look at it and say, oh, okay, they went that way, and they tried to throw us off by going that way. Or they threw us off by putting the map going down that way, because when you go up on that road, you can take a dirt road to get to, again, I'm just making this up, but what I'm saying is that is going to come out. That's all going to come out, and law enforcement has reasons. There were some map points that I didn't realize, and I want to look at it now. You said the road is fun. I bet it's not fun after you just kidnap somebody.
Landmarks on Annie's map are important. It's probably the same reason why people thought this was a getaway map. Like I mentioned before, the house on Janamadas Drive, we actually need someone in the know to tell us, what that house is. But as of now, I do like that being Nancy's church meetup location. So if we were to keep following the map, we get to Circa 79 Salon. And this should be where Nancy got her hair done. Now, I'd also like to see if anybody agrees that the picture that they are using for Nancy's flyers and the billboards they were putting up, which should be, and it appears to be, the most recent picture of Nancy. And I've always thought that she was wearing a wig in that picture, which I assume she would, if her hair was thinning or she was losing hair, that, a wig would make a lot of sense. Then there is Green Toes, a nail salon, which we did say in our Phantoms video, since they have cameras as shown here, that hopefully they had caught some type of mysterious vehicle that night. This could
again, why, another thing too, guys, is why would somebody take that route that has the most amount of cameras and things and places? That doesn't make sense. Deport Elon 2026. I'll get flack for this, but I would investigate her church friends. My first vote is for Nancy and villain looking husband. However, there's also vultures at a church. I mean, they should have already investigated her church friends, pastors, anybody that's ever come to her house and worked there in the last. Absolutely. You don't get any flack from me on that. I agree. All right. Let's continue. That we're not talking about they're talking about Annie and Tommaso, since just leave it at that. Some people don't live and breathe this case. I think you may be smarter than you think about maps. Maybe, but I won't give myself credit.
Also be a spot where Nancy did her nails as well, of course. The map then passes Lulu Walker Elementary, which actually should not be important because A&T's son is 13 this past April. If you don't believe me, then here's Omo celebrating his 8th birthday in 2021. And feel free to do the math yourself. Then the map ends on Basha's, which actually makes perfect sense as well. Basha's is a pharmacy. Annie, being Nancy's designated caretaker, she would probably be the one to pick up the prescriptions as well. So she would assign those prescriptions to go to a local pharmacy. So now, after this bit of information that I have given you, just use your own judgment on what Annie's map means. Now, I'm sure many of us had felt from the beginning of hearing that this was a getaway map by Annie about the culprits that doesn't make much sense. To even make an assumption.
Exactly. To even make an assumption, you wouldn't catch me doing that. So the killer drove Nancy Guthrie past all of her favorite local spots for one last time. Yeah, and they took the scary route. They took the route that has the most amount of cameras, even places that you don't think, right in the middle of the open. That's what I'm saying, B-girl. That's what I'm saying. Very smart, huh? I wouldn't even do that. I would not ever entertain such a thing. If something happened to a family member and law enforcement said, hey, can you draw me a map or point out where they might have gone? I just said, no, I can't point out where they gone. No way, no how. I can tell you the freeway's over there. There's a freeway there and a highway there. But that's all I could tell you. I would never map something out. Yeah, I like that, Synth. Us true crime people that are always in the mix know about leakage. All right, let's continue.
On a specific route that the kidnapper would take. I mean, why would she even have any clue, since there were so many possibilities, so many routes to escape in a maze like Nancy's neighborhood, as opposed to this just being a map?
Not only just that, guys, we've had people talk about this map and say there's shortcuts in there that you could just go off onto a dirt road and get back around the place where you don't want the cameras to pick you up. But first of all, you'd have to know the area. All right, let's continue.
Annie Guthrie released early on the places that her missing mother usually frequents. Now, I've heard even back then about this same map, that this was the Uber route for Nancy that night. Now, that's completely possible. True. Maybe Nancy took the Uber to get her own meds that night before going to Annie and Tommaso. So there's that. But I also wonder why anybody would take this rigmarole route like this one as opposed to the Google's recommended route. And guess what? They would even save a whole 5 minutes going with Google. So let's just say I
love that he did that as well. But if you also even go farther out past the map, there's such an easier way to get away from that place, from Nancy's place where she was allegedly kidnapped. There's a straight shot and a lot more dark areas. Yes, why would kidnappers go past all those familiar places with lights, cameras, cops, etc.? They wouldn't. But that's the whole thing. This is a key piece that could be used as evidence as this case unfolds.
Understand the people that looked at this map, looked at the route and said, hey, this is probably a route in which they're trying to avoid all the cameras, as I have wondered myself. But if you were to ask me about Annie's map, I think that's just places her mom went. Now, I also want to talk about a little bit of action that's been going on in the Nancy Guthrie case.
I mean, if she didn't create that, she should definitely come out and say, man, I didn't create this map. This is ridiculous. But they're not talking. They're not even asking for anything. They're not asking the public to help find their mom. They're not asking the public, please bring back my mother's the memorial stuff. We'd really like it. It's the last thing we have of her. Nothing, guys. Nothing at all. Make it make sense.
And that is an actual search for Nancy. And this came across my feed just this morning, and it actually made me perk up a little bit.
Mark, that's right. This search group regularly looks for missing people, and they've helped find the remains of dozens of people in the Nogales area. But this is the first time they've received a tip that specifically mentioned Nancy Guthrie. For the volunteers with Buscando Corazones, anonymous tips are common, often leading them to remote parts of Mexico as they search for missing people. Ramona Guadalupe Ayala Ortiz, the leader of the collective, says a caller last month told her Nancy Guthrie's remains are buried close to the Mariposa Port of Entry in Nogales, just across the border. After receiving the tip on a possible grave site, volunteers alongside Mexican authorities conducted a search on May 16th and returned again on Wednesday.
They only told me to search near the streams under a velvet tree. That's all. So we as searchers have learned the techniques for finding a clandestine grave.
Ramona says,
and I really couldn't wait to get this on the screen and have you see the people digging, just as a symbol of what's happening in this case and the movement or lack thereof. Why aren't we doing this, guys? And when I say we, I certainly am not equipped to go outside with a shovel and dig for hours, let alone minutes. My point is, I think Nancy Guthrie is closer than we think. Why are there not search parties in Pima County, Arizona, in her area, doing ground searches, looking for soil that's been overturned, graves, etc.? All right. I want to know if she normally drove the friend's house for church or got it right. I do too. But nobody's telling us anything. Clandestine. Love the word clandestine. All right, let's continue. Yes, nobody. This did get me excited, and it perked my hope up that even if they don't find anything in the Nancy Guthrie case, or maybe something that belonged to her, maybe they're going to dig something up and find a necklace that belonged to her. Whatever. Maybe they won't find anything. The whole point is, look at how many people that we have out there with gloves. He's got his shovel. I'm sure these people are not just there to support watching them. I'm sure everyone's digging in and helping. They've done that twice. They've got a third one scheduled. It was supposed to be for today. Why aren't they doing that near Nancy's home? I don't think, if they didn't take her body across the border and dump her into one of those graves where the other people are, I think she's real close to home, guys.
Researchers are looking for any signs the ground may have been altered, including burn marks and uneven soil. But both searches have come up empty. Now they're planning to search another stream on Tuesday.
We have hope that we will find it.
The Pima County Sheriff's Office says they are aware of the reports about the anonymous tip. They say they have not been contacted by Mexican authorities about the search efforts and that their investigation is ongoing.
Really?
And the reason this got my attention specifically is because I am of the camp that believes Nancy being taken to Mexico is a very likely scenario. I'm also of the camp that believes that there was a lot of common sense in the beginning of the case. I'm not talking about when they were searching Nancy's house on day one, because that was a clown show. Obviously,
actually, the first 48 to 72 hours, the whole thing was a clown show. And I don't think anyone else, even from Pima County, would say anything different. All right. Could be a mechanic, the way maneuvering the mouth light, bite light. I don't think she's in Mexico. Too risky, in my opinion. Yeah, that's what I think as well. Unless these people were already coming in and out from Mexico regularly, then it's not very risky at all. Because if she's already dead, and when I say taking her to Mexico, I mean her body. I don't think that she was sitting in any seat with the seatbelt on and them handing her a bottle of water. Are you okay, Mrs. Guthrie? Take a drink of water. I know your pacemaker got disconnected and you just coughed out blood or bled on the front porch, but make sure you get your seatbelt on while we cross through the border, okay? None of that happened. All right, let's continue.
Obviously, right? I'm talking about when they were going to Rio Rico, when they were talking to the Mexican authorities at the border. All of this was happening early on, right? They had Tommaso in their crosshairs. They had Carlos. They had Luke to talk to. They were just following the course.
Yes.
And of course, that is not to say that anybody I mentioned is part of the crime, except one. Do you guys remember Derek Colella?
Yes, Derek Colella's straight up going on trial for this little stunt that he pulled, which I don't think is such a stunt. I absolutely still think that we've got the people with the puppet that were the puppet masters and the others. All right. I don't think this was one person at all. And I don't think that the other ransom notes, I don't think those were credible, but I think that somebody that put them to the TMZ wanted your attention, my attention, and the world's attention for a reason. But why? Well, he's going on trial for that. He's going on trial, and he is connected to who? Anyone know who he's connected to right in the middle? Oh, there he is. Underneath Annie and Tommaso. Wow. Oh, shoot, wait. There's Luke Daly all the way to the right as well. The guy that shaved all of his hair off and gave himself a new look and went, and his hand looks swollen, by the way. Isn't that weird? Things that make you go, or is it common sense?
Ella, in which we connected directly to Mexico. He used to live there. He had a family over there, and he performed with his band, Secret Mutilator, over there. Okay, he definitely committed a crime when he called Tommaso and Andy, wondering where his Bitcoin was. Right? Now, to what capacity? Of course, we don't know yet, and that's what's gonna make his upcoming trial very interesting, right? And that trial is on June 23rd. It's just around the corner.
Guys, we got to put that on the calendar. All right. BB Girl says, Jay, wait, what did I miss, my friend? What did I miss? Yes. Yeah, I mean, he's definitely involved. Why would Derek or anyone insert themselves into the highest profile case in years? Is he that dumb? That's what I'm saying. He's being charged as if he were a perpetrator in this case and had to do with it, BB Girl. Not only that, but he called their phones. He got the two phone numbers of Annie and Tommaso, texted both of them, and then called for 9 seconds, and then it hung up. What does that mean? What did he say? Thank you. See, and that's why I love you guys that are just fixated on these certain cases, because you know everything about it. Me, on the other hand, guys, I do my research, and I have to research it day by day because it changes, right? So if I'm covering 5 cases or 6 or 10 that I'm rotating, then I don't get all the little tiny details. So thank you. No one could be that dumb. Well, somebody is that dumb, because Kalela he's changing his plea deal to what? Wait, I didn't even know he had a plea deal. Tell me about it. I'll look it up.
When I'm making this video. But then again, like we said in a previous video of the same name, he's in a catch-22, guys. He's in a no-win situation, because if he is involved and he chooses to talk, he's just going to get more prison sentence. So why would he talk? So as of right now, depending on where you look, it doesn't seem like many things are moving in the case, right? These are the quiet times. But if you look, sometimes the quiet times are just as revealing. My name is Monks. Okay, don't forget part 5 of the Zodiac is out. If you didn't know about it or haven't decided to watch it yet, I recommend it. People are saying it's pretty good, guys. Okay.
Everything you do is good. Everything Monk does is good. Go sub up to him, guys. Again, there's another video here, and I'm not going to get into that today. You guys can go off and check out the facial hair. But what I do want to talk about a little bit is a theory on what happened and why. All right, let's take a look real quick. I started watching this and I was like, oh shit, who's this insider? Now you guys know TMZ, that's clickbait. When someone says insider reveals a huge secret, I don't know that there's necessarily a secret that needed to be revealed, but there's some good information in the next 8 minutes of this. All right, let's do this for a minute. Jax, you're in trouble. You got some explaining to do. Where you been? All right, check this out. This is common sense, but it also makes you go, about all the other junk that we're being fed. All right.
Not relying on this information as our primary investigative information. The problem that we have in this case, we don't even know what this case really is. We're looking.
That right there is the statement of the century, right? The problem with this is that we don't even know what we're looking at. We don't know how to approach this case because we don't know what it is. You got some explaining to do, Jax. All right, let's continue. Cheapskate, he has changed. He has a change of plea on 7-2. He had pled not guilty. So change would be he's now pleading guilty. I'm going to look it up right now and see what he's facing. But also think Annie, Savannah, and Cameron support these kind of YouTuber, bring awareness. Their mama, Mrs. G. I don't know that they support any of them. Are you saying that you want them to? I don't think that they are paying anybody. As a matter of fact, they don't need to pay these people. The people that are out there full time, guys, I'm going to be real with you. And I'm going to be honest with you about what Google AdWords and Google pays. And I'm telling you right now, for a stream like that, all right, there's a stream when you watch JLR for 12 or 13 hours with all of his commercials, all of his super chats, all of his guys, they're raking in thousands a day. Okay, that is not equivalent to bringing awareness to the case or looking for Nancy or going to do a search crew and look for something she may have dropped or go look for unturned soil. That's not that, right? That is just purely sitting there with the camera, harassing people, them talking shit to you, you making up crazy stories, and all in between hoping somebody does something messed up so that you can get it on film. That's not awareness, guys. I hate to say that. What's up, Viking Treasure? Hi, Jay. I'm new here. I have a secret. Oh, this isn't clickbait. I'm One Love Revolutionary's mom, screaming I love you in the background. Well, Viking Treasure, I love you too. And thank you. Welcome to the Crime Crew officially. Now I can see your face too. Hi, Mama. My real mom is in chat too, but this is One Love's mom, and this is my mom. This is Mama Pearl. Mama Pearl, welcome, One Love's mom. All right, Viking Treasure. Nice to meet you. Finally, you made an account. All right, let's continue.
At rootless hairs, hoping that that gives us the information that we need. I wouldn't presume that the abduction was intentional. Perhaps there wasn't an intent to spend 40 minutes inside the house. We'll be looking at a video where there was what I think was a flower pot or a can or something that was used to prop open the door near the kitchen at the back of the house.
That's what I'm
saying. Why would that door be propped open?
It just, there's too many things.
Now recently correcting misleading reports saying that she had hired private investigators, also expressing the sheer amount of grief she's experiencing right now, having it be 4 months without seeing her mom and knowing where she's been. Today, I'm joined by Dr. Peter Valentin. He's the chair of the Forensic Science Department at the University of New Haven, who's saying that Savannah Guthrie should keep her head up during the investigation, and he's here today to tell us why. Doctor, thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you, Jackson.
Oh, look at that. Jack Stormo's got some explaining to do. She's making it up for being late with the Guilty of Crime membership. Thank you, Jax. If you received that membership, please thank Jax. All right, there's some good information in this, and then we'll leave you to it. All right, let's continue. I love the Crime Crew. You guys are amazing and awesome, and it's hot, and I want to go lay down with the dogs in the AC, but you know what? We need to find Nancy Guthrie. We need to put out real information. Can Savannah ask the FBI to interview and go over the little man? I'm sure she can do a lot. She's got a lot of money, but what is she doing? We don't know. It's not even true about the private eye.
Of course. So you subscribe to the idea that the investigation is far from over. We have some people in the investigative community calling this a cold case, and others like you saying that the investigation is far from done. Why is that?
So, I mean, I'm aware of a lot of forensic techniques that are being used that they still hold promise. And, you know, we won't know until we get the results of that forensic testing. And what I'm hopeful for is that the results of those forensic testing, of that forensic testing, will lead the investigation in new directions, right? What we're starving for here is a name. We're starving for information that will help us make sense of what I'm sure is just a large amount of.
And I mean, is this right? Rightfully so. We're struggling to even classify what this case is. We're struggling to find a name because we have so many names. And this guy is spot on. One Love Revolutionary. Give your mom a big hug for me, all right? And I introduced her to Mama Pearl as well, all right? Thank you, Jen's Gypsy. Has anyone seen Missing Alana Moore? No? Did I see that? I'll take a look. Let me look while we're doing this. That sounds familiar, but I'm not sure.
Data, right? There's cell phone tower information. There's license plate reader information. There's surveillance footage of all sorts of things. And what we just don't know is who are we looking for? And when was that information of value? Was it 12 hours before? Was it 2 hours before? Was it 2 hours afterward? And all we need is a kernel of information, a name. And perhaps something from those forensic testing results will give us a name that will help us cull through all of that data and propel this investigation forward.
And what kind of data sets are we looking at here?
So, the easiest thing would be to say that, every cell phone in the vicinity of that house is hitting a tower and it's registering to that tower. So
this guy, this is common sense and science. We're talking about forensics and digital forensic as well as DNA, period. We're hanging on the edge of our seats for that piece of hair that doesn't have a root to come back with a name so that we can do some kind of genetic genealogy and narrow it down to a character instead of all of the characters that we've had. Guys, these people have been detained. They've been arrested for other unrelated things, and they all come back to Annie and freaking Tommaso, who haven't done anything to further the search. And in my opinion, I'll say they haven't done anything publicly at all. Maybe they're doing something behind the scenes. I don't know. Who knows? We've seen them packing. Are they moving her out? Are they going to continue paying the house? When someone told me last night about the lights, guys, somebody messaged me about lights in the house. I said, well, maybe the lights got turned off because someone didn't pay the bill. That's how rumors start. I thought someone was telling me that the lights got turned off and there's no more power, but that was the opposite of what they said. There was lights on at 4 a.m., right? Yeah, meandering indeed, right.
The investigators surely have that information. They know which phones, and they're holding on to it, and they'll certainly have looked at it in some measure. Are these phones that have been hitting the same tower for the last 6 months? Are there phones that have only been hitting the tower for the last week? Are there phones that only hit the tower twice and have never come, back to those same towers ever again? There's a lot of information to be had, right? Because now you can distinguish between residents and people who've just, traveled through the area once. And that can be helpful. License plate readers, right? Your cars are getting picked up all the time as they travel through different areas. And is that information helpful? Now, how do you distinguish somebody just driving through a neighborhood versus the person of interest? We need a name. We need some bit of information to grab onto because, this is such an immense amount of information that it's hard to know what you're looking for until you get something to, again, grab onto.
There are a lot of people that say that investigators are dealing with the opposite of such a high volume of information. Nancy Guthrie lived in a very secluded area. There were not a lot of CCTV cameras around the roads where the car that potentially took her was traveling. The person in the Ring doorbell footage, for example, is theorized to have a radio instead of a cell phone on him, making it difficult for cell phone towers to ping his phone. When there aren't those data sets to reference, what are investigators left with really if we are dealing with a person that thought ahead?
And as soon as he answers this question, I'm going to jump back quickly to the killing field. That's the Nancy Guthrie tip that led searchers to what they call a killing field across the border. Just for a moment or two, okay? Because, this is the real deal. We have not had any we haven't had anyone. We don't want nanos, but we haven't had any person that's come out and given us an update of real tangible information. Ooh, Gabby, 110 in Vegas. I think it's like 3 degrees here, Mom. It's like in the 80s and I'm hot. So I'm not used to, I'm in California. I do not like hot weather unless there's a pool. That's it. All I need is a pool or a lake. We're good to go. All right, I want to hear his answer, and then I'm going to take you off for a second to talk about the killing field.
And thought through all the possible places that he could have been tracked and covered his tracks subsequently. What are they left with?
Well, Jackson, you're right, because normally we are not relying on this information as our primary, investigative information. Because what do we normally have? We have a relationship between our victim and our offender that we can uncover relatively easily. So we're not left to use cell phone information as the primary method for establishing the relationship or the connection. What we're actually using that information for is corroborating that connection, right? So if we know the relationship between the victim and the offender, then what we do is we use the cell phone information that we search for, because now we know the name, and now we can corroborate. Well, we know you were at the house between midnight and 2:30 because we found your phone number hitting off that tower. We have your license plate on a reader, or in the vicinity between this time and that time. But how did we find it? Because we knew what we were looking for. How did we know what we were looking for? Because we understood the relationship.
All right, so then we're going to leave it at that. That's where we are at day 135, is still not having a name or real tangible evidence for anything, really. And that's why when we see, wow, there's a killing field across the border, people are speculating that somebody took her body over there. And I'm not talking about the porch guy. I'm talking about if there were multiple people that were working together. Yeah, 110 is like being in hell. I'm sorry, but I'm sure you're used to that, like the heat, right? I wouldn't be able to live in that. I wouldn't survive in that heat, y'all. And I just saying. All right, let's take a look for a few minutes at this. I want you to see about the killing field across the border. Thank you for being here.
We have to go through all of them.
The tips. We're talking about the
because
tips.
It just takes that one tip or lead to break the case wide open. So all of them have to be taken very seriously and to be vetted.
Amen.
We certainly hope this is that one tip that could give so many answers to the Guthrie family and really to the world. So I'm not surprised that another tip has come in and that it's being followed through. And again, fingers crossed. And I have to add too, as a law enforcement professional, as an investigator, it does take so much hard work, endless hours, just dogged determination to solve these cases. But I also have to add, it takes luck too. So I'm hoping that just somebody says something and shares it with the right people.
And that's basically what's happening. If anything's going to come out of these YouTubers getting themselves in trouble and getting arrested, I hope that they at least find something to work towards solving this case. Okay. I'm not gonna shit talk about anybody. I don't want to shit talk about YouTubers. If this guy wants to sit out there all day with this camera and nobody has a problem, if there's not a problem, let's not make a problem. However, now that arrests are starting to be made and neighbors are pissed, just be respectful, guys. It's not that hard. Thank you, Viking Treasure. I appreciate that. Big hug. See, look at this is how much I love my mama. Or it could say wow, but really it's mom. See, my mom's name is Pearl. Mama Pearl. There's a pearl up in there and it says mom. Yes, I'm a mama's girl. All right, let's continue. We got a little more. I'm trying to find something real quick.
And that the right information and tips lead come in to help with this investigation.
This group that received the tip, they're Buscando Corazones Nogales, and they're not unknown to locals. In Nogales, this is a group of mothers. They have searched for many people in the past. Okay. They have found multiple grave sites. That's distressing on itself.
So somebody had asked earlier if those were the moms, and I didn't realize that because I hadn't looked in 80 today. I hadn't looked up the group or any of that. I just said, whoa, they're going out for day 3 of searching for Nancy Guthrie's body in a specific place. What do they have? What did they find? What's driving them to continue to do that search? Right? So, of course, we haven't had much tangible evidence anywhere else, but we are with them digging up multiple graves.
By itself. But the fact that this tip came in from locals in Nogales to this group in a place where, generally speaking, people didn't know much about this case, what does that say to you about the veracity potentially of this tip?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind as an investigator is why this area? What is the connection between this area and the victim or the suspect? If we're going to theorize, it could be this person for these reasons, they did that. So that would be my first question. What's the connection? Is it logistically feasible to take somebody from Guthrie to the area versus maybe, on the other side of the country? That's not very feasible.
And again, the only reason I even thought it was plausible was because there were so many people sitting there talking about Nancy being in Mexico, cartels, blah, 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 right? All that kind of stuff that happens. Of course it happens, but statistically it's unlikely that that's what happened to her. Good night, Deb. Have a good one. We'll see you tomorrow. All right. Let's go a little further. I just wanted to see the people out there on the scene doing stuff and what has led us up to this.
And then it gets very active again. This is all very typical of cases, whether they're very hot cases or cold cases. But getting back to cold cases, time actually can be very helpful. And people do feel more comfortable talking for whatever reason. People, let's say on their deathbed, or the bad guy is dead or in jail, or maybe just even a guilty conscience, or maybe somebody that, they said so-and-so, but I really didn't put it together until now. So there's a lot of reasons why people may talk later, but I still really believe the high profile nature of this case is very helpful. It still generates a lot of tips and leads that could be wild goose chases. But I would say without a doubt, and this is especially true in cold cases, one of the best ways to solve a cold case, quite frankly, is media attention. The more
that makes sense, I guess. What's up, Mab? Good to see you. Okay, so we're going, now we're just getting into speculation and thoughts, etc. Nancy Guthrie, search for her body in Mexico intensifies. Day 3 should have been today. It wasn't. It was postponed because they couldn't get U.S. law enforcement in, I guess. No one have good AC. No, I have good AC too, but I'm in I'm in my office, the central house AC. But this one's like, it's okay. It's cooling down. Like one of the sweetest people. You know what? I'm going to tell you real quick. Let me put this up there real quick so you guys can still see. And I want to ask Mab, what I saw you on 857 over there. You guys were streaming at the same time. What's your guys' theories now about this? What's the deal? What do you think? Where's Nancy? Do you think she's in Mexico, or do you think that's just ridiculous? Carrie, I'm off tomorrow. I'll keep an eye if anything comes out. Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to expand just for a second. So there's this guy. That's all we have still thus far. This guy still reminds me of Porch Guy. It's between these two, but we have no evidence to say otherwise. Savannah genuinely seems like one of the sweetest people. I'm glad that you said that. Ivana, because I thought that too, just based on how she talks, what she looks like, looking at her Instagram. I'm pretty good at can't even get our people there. I'm pretty good at gauging people, and Vinnie Politan, again, I don't know him, but when I had a conversation with him about Savannah Guthrie and what he thought about the case, he said the exact same thing you did. He said she's a ray of sunshine. All right. She really, truly is into the word of God. She follows the law, the rules of whatever she whatever church she goes to, etc. He said she's a bright light and she's a sweetheart and she is one of the sweetest people and genuine. So I'm glad to hear you say that. And I was glad to hear him say that because a lot of people were saying, oh, she's so fake and this and that. I don't feel like that. I feel like Savannah's genuine. She was trained to be like David said, she was media trained, literally, right? She used to be a lawyer. She's got all kinds of different degrees, different things she does, but I think she's genuine. And I hope that they can bring back Nancy Guthrie. For anybody, do it for Savannah. I don't know about the other siblings. Cameron, I think, has nothing to do with this other than him being her son. All right, Kelly, good to see you. Mab, what'd you say, Mab? I know you didn't say anything. All right, so Mab didn't tell me what he thinks at all. So that being said, Mr. Mabster, let's get together soon, guys. And Mab, I'd like to collab with you at some point, hopefully. Patriot, etc. Yeah, Mab Squirrel. Guys, before we go, are there any cases that you guys are looking at that you want me to look at? I'm gonna put my email address below. I want to do something. Not this one. I'm sorry. Hold on. It's this one. I want to take a case, guys, that people need help with. Okay, I want to take a case where, like, someone just popped in a bit ago and said, have you heard about the Eliana something or other? And I couldn't catch the last name. Or, like we covered Eve Rogers. Somebody reached out and said, Jay, Eve Rogers' mom is exploiting her on her psychic channel and she's lying. Can you cover it? That's what I want. Like, just like that, Carrie, the Lauren DeMalo tips, or I want a case suggestion that really is going to make an impact for somebody that doesn't have the outreach. So you guys feel free to reach out to me. Cuff you. Thank you so much for supporting the channel, for being a mod, and for the 5 Guilty of Crime memberships. You know, I appreciate that more than you do know. All right, let's pull that down. Again, that's not the right one. Hold on. That one is, why does that keep coming up? If you have a case, I don't want that one. Guilty of Crime by J@gmail.com will get to me faster. And that way, if there's something or somebody you know that's missing, or they have a case that's cold and nobody's paying attention, reach out to me, guys. All right. They say they're new tips. We'll send it over, Carrie. Actually, I don't want to work on that because Paul. Yeah, I can't work on that because Paul doesn't want to work on it. But if there's anything else, guys, reach out to me. I thought it was Eliana Moore. I just looked her up. Let me know if that's who it is. Hold on. But I mean, these people need coverage. What about the lady with the 7 children, guys? 7 children. They took her to Mexico and killed her and left the 7 children without a mom. Now, this is from Chris Stewart an hour ago. Police in Lexington, South Carolina say Ilana Moore was last seen at Publix on 6/11, 5 days ago at 9:17 p.m. She's still missing, guys. She's over there walking. There's a better picture of her. I don't know if it's on someone's door cam. I don't know any circumstances about this case, but what I do know is I'm going to repost this. And yeah, she's still missing, guys, but there's so many other cases like this. Here it is. Eliana disappeared. Anyone who sees her. Okay, there's a true crime believer, and this is her. This doesn't even look like her. So let me share it, repost this. When you look at this person and then you look at this person, she doesn't look like that person. So I'll put a picture up of her and I'll put a picture up of them, because a lot of times, guys, it's the spouse or boyfriend. Yeah, Jody, send it on over. I covered a case about little Rosie that was a 30-year-old cold case. Send it to me. See what you got. Let's see what we can dig up. Sometimes if you have a 30-year-old cold case but no information to be found, there's not much you can do. I can certainly put it on Ghost, Guilty of Crime Ghost, but there's not a lot else I can do. Thank you, Cooling Chris, for trying to get to that goal. I appreciate you greatly. And Golden Hand's always coming through. Love you. Thank you so much. Nothing but the facts, Jay. Thank you. I appreciate you. I'm gonna get you something real soon. I gotta think of something. We gotta do some more giveaways and things after we catch up from the Vegas trip. All right. Thanks, guys. Thanks for supporting the channel. Flojo, if you're out there, let's reach out. Let's collab. Same thing, Mab. Come on, let's go. Mab, are you gonna be on tonight? I really wanted to hear your feedback on this case, but I guess I'll have to wait to see you on Turtle Vision or Dolly Vision, whatever, right? All right, let me check real quick. Let me take a look, and then I will roll out. I never want to not catch something. 1 second. Oh, you didn't have. Thank you, ma'am, so much, and you didn't have to. Cool. Thank you so much, Cool and Chris. That was awesome. You know what? I'm about to. Baby Guilty is off for the. Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you. I'm gonna go actually right now to go to 7-Eleven and get me and Baby Guilty some stuff. So thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. You may go live later. I'll watch out for you, buddy. And Krista, you guys gotta reach out to Foxy directly. Foxy does the Foxy boxes. My girl Tiff does merchandise. And the only time you'll ever reach out to me about any of that will be if you don't hear back from these ladies. But you will, because the Foxy boxes take a while. They're custom, Krista. I hear you, Krista. Foxy boxes can take over a month to get to you. I haven't even mailed out Miss Corinne's shirt from Madeline Soto yet because I've been so busy. So hang in there, my friend. Reach out to guiltyofprizes@gmail.com. And Foxy's getting your stuff. I have faith in her. Lots of news clipping. Thank you, Jody. Appreciate that. You guys have a wonderful night. Haley Cummings, Case Young. Guys, my email's right there. guiltyofcrime@gmail.com. Please, please, please reach out to me. Love you guys. See you tomorrow. Thank you. Yes, she is. If you ordered stuff yet from Tiff, her merch is top notch. I mean, this damn thing I can't get enough of. And it's got a Bluetooth in it with a speaker. So you can drink your drink at the pool and listen to music at the same time. And it's good. Good quality, not a lot of money. So yes, go check out guiltyofcrime.com. Get some merch for the summer. I'll see you all tomorrow. Love you. Sadie's mama, love you. Sorry I haven't messaged you back. I haven't really been doing text messages, but much love to you. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Thank you. Good night. Bonus. Yeah. All right. Love y'all. Thank you.
Guilty of Crime.
I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed my content, please share this video, like, and subscribe. You can also follow me over at Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, X, or Gmail. If you'd like to donate to my channel, you can use Cash App or Venmo or PayPal. Thank you very much in advance. Guilty of Crime.
Are you guilty?